out this crowd and I see the number of politicians and ex-politicians, if anyone wants to be home before midnight, you better leave now, okay? Because there's a few people in the front row that are somewhat talkative, and anyway, we know them well, and we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. A lot of fun. Thank you, folks, each and every one of you, for coming out tonight. This is a very special night for us, a night to celebrate an idea that was born 4 years ago, if my math is correct, in a municipal election. And a young man named Sam MacPhail was volunteered to work on a committee that was a speaker's night here in Cornwall. And towards the end of the evening, we were chatting about characters in the community. Certain names seem to come up time and time again. And I said to Sam, you know what, Sam, somebody's got to write a book. This man he's too large a character to just let word of mouth be his story. So that's where the seed was sown 4 years ago. At that time, we didn't anticipate 2 hurricanes and a pandemic. But at any rate, we persevered and went through it and met for time and time again at various Sundays, and we eventually sketched out what we're able to present tonight and share with you folks tonight. Oh, I didn't mention, my name is Bill Hogg, and I was involved in this project in a secondary role, because I'll mention Sam later, and the true wordsmith of this project is Sam MacPhail. And anyway, first of all, let me tell you that men's washroom is down here on the right-hand side, and the ladies' washroom is just behind Jack, down in that area. There are treats and coffee and tea and water and whatever anyone would like, just in the hallway here. And we invite you to have a treat tonight, and as you move about and share your thoughts and ideas with various attendees tonight. Robin's Donuts have been very gracious with us in the Landmark Cafe. Mary's Cornwall Bakery, Jonathan Good and Goods Independent. Jack MacPhail and MacPhail's Sound is here tonight, and his boss, Abby Sentner, is also blessed us. She's going to be taking a number of pictures. Heather Stead, my boss, is busy selling books in the back room. The town of Cornwall, we want to express our gratitude to. And all of the in excess of 35 contributors to the book, some of which I see here tonight, we welcome you and we thank you. All of the proceeds for the book are going to the Bluefield family of schools. After I retired, I volunteered at Elliott River School in the breakfast program for close to a decade, I guess. I'm dating myself. And I saw the immense need in the breakfast program of kids coming to school and hadn't eaten for 12 hours or whatever, and we were expecting them to sit quietly in their seats and take everything in. So I'm really happy that Ron and Ann have decided that the charity of choice is the Bluefield Family of Schools breakfast program. And you will see some KFC buckets around here, the significance of which some of you might appreciate, but I will share it with you. Years ago, when Ronnie was in the legislature and they'd be working through a mealtime, various legislators would select where the meal was coming from. Inevitably, when it was Ronnie's turn to pick where their meal was coming from, there was no need to discuss it any further. It was coming from Kentucky Fried Chicken. So with that, we'd have a podium with a couple of KFC buckets. And we invite you tonight, we want to do a little jump start. I know it's the time of the year, but if you do have a penny or two to spare, we are going to be donating and splitting it between the 4 schools and their donation buckets there. So, someone who I want to recognize right now, who is with us. Early in the writing of the book, we thought, we have to look at the graphics. We can handle the script of it, but we really have to look at the graphics. And as we discussed it further, both of us agreed, both Sam and I agreed, that there was one person that we wanted to try to enlist, to recruit. And that man is legendary in Prince Edward Island. I think he's legendary. His name is Wayne Wright. And you've seen his cartoons. In fact, The Guardian had one, and I said to Wayne earlier, The Guardian had one this week. And of course, Wayne, I said, you know the significance of Kentucky Fried Chicken, because it was in Wayne's cartoon that he shared with The Guardian this week. At any rate, we are so indebted to Wayne for coming aboard. And once he shared, he said, what are we doing? What's the money being raised for? And we shared with him that we were raising the money for the Bluefield family. It was all charity that Sam and I were not. There's no profiteering in it. It was just going to be donated. Wayne immediately came on board. His illustrations in the book, for those of you that have it, they are priceless. This man he's legendary. He's hugely talented, and we were so fortunate to be able to recruit him and for him to contribute all of the cartoons that are in the book. So, Wayne, at this time, I'm going to ask you to come forward, if you would, please, and we'll present you with your very own copy of your own works. Thank you.
I'm honored to be with you, Ron, and with all of the wonderful men and women here, boys and girls, if there's any. And I'm honored to be part of your life, Ron, and I wouldn't take a chance and look in there, but I met you at one point, and you asked me, what do you do for a living? You were drinking ginger ale, I never forgot that. I was hard pressed to tell you what I did for a living. I married a wonderful lady over there, a nurse. Actually, she's executive director of Prince Edward Hospital, and so that's a smart move of mine. I started working in cartoons for Angus MacLean. I loved Angus in those days, and basically I had all of these cartoons with Horace and David Wheel and Cecil. They were nervous Nellies, and they said, no, we can't use them. So there I was with a whole bunch of cartoons. So I went to the Charlottetown Guardian and started my career at $5 a cartoon in 1979. But I come from a big liberal family, as I told Shirley a few minutes ago. My father was Lord Wright. He had the Reed's Corner Esso service station, and I wouldn't delay this wonderful night any farther. But Reed's Corner, so we sold more Esso than anybody on the island. And if you could look at that phone number on my father's little notepad there, it was 911. Oh, 911 for Lauren Wright. I'd answer the phone, hi there, Duffy's Tavern. He was quite a choker himself. But I'm honored to be with you all tonight. Thank you, Sam, and
Thank you,
and Belle. Thank you so much, guys.
I had mentioned to you the origins of the book, and I just want to mention two of my takeaways from the process, from the 4-year process of writing it. I guess the long list of Sam MacPhail's attributes. Any of you who know Sam know that Sam MacPhail is a remarkable young man. Remarkable young man. I've spent 34 of my years in a classroom, and I met a lot of youngsters. And when you're a teacher, you try to look at a youngster and you think, I wonder where you're going to end up. Well, Sam MacPhail, I really do honestly believe that we're looking at a future premier of Prince Edward Island. I believe that. If I was to start to go through the positive attributes that Sam displays, the list would be endless. But I very soon learned in the process of Sam's passion, of his drive, immense passion, not just passion, immense passion for everything that he does, whether it's sports or whether it's the business world. He's a mover and a shaker. And a work ethic as long as your arm. That's a quality that's always impressed me, if somebody displays a healthy work ethic, and Sam MacPhail has displays it every day. And he is truly the author. As I mentioned earlier, that my role was somewhat secondary in the whole process, but we worked on it together. But Sam was the wordsmith that put the language together and told the story that we're sharing tonight. Very engaging personality. Remember, this guy's only 25 years old. I got 50 years on the kid, 25, but he is, just keep an eye on him. He's going to go places. For this opportunity to work with Sam, I'm truly grateful for that opportunity to establish a friendship and to work with you. And we're two political junkies. We're not of the same shade politically, but we've had some fairly heated conversations. Interesting, engaging, and a lot of fun talking. We get off on a tangent quite easily. So 4 years, well, I won't say it could have been done in 2, but anyway, I am grateful. The other positive that I derived from the project was that I was able to, I knew of Ronnie beforehand. He was a neighbor and a friend. But working on the project allowed me to delve much deeper into the life of someone who is a local, larger-than-life character who has an amazing political career and who has an abundance of traits that endear him into the hearts of huge numbers of people in Prince Edward Island and in his constituency. To be elected and to re-elected for 29.5 years. That's an amazing feat, folks. Not too many politicians on Prince Edward Island have been able to do that. So Sam and I thought, there's got to be some magic there. Let's explore, let's find out what it is, what the traits were that allowed this man to be elected and re-elected. And I think as you read the book, you will discover some of the things that you'll be able to find there. I recognized how the scope of Ron's impressing people extended. The first time Heather and I went to Cuba, we went to a hotel called Amelia Cayo Guillermo. How do you remember it? Well, I'm sure, Ann, you do. It was one of your stops, and it was a lovely, lovely hotel on Cayo Guillermo, just off of Cayo Coco. And we landed about 12 o'clock. Around 1 o'clock, I said, we can't go to bed. We've got to go down to the bar. And I'm just wired for sound. Let's have some fun tonight. So down to the bar we go. And we meet this charming young bartender. Extends his hand out. How are you doing? Where are you folks from? We're from Prince Edward Island. Oh, Ronnie MacKinley, Prince Edward Island. Holy shit. How many sounds himself? 1 o'clock in the morning and this guy saying Ronnie MacKinley owns Prince Edward Island. Anyway, I won't tell the story of the chair that you sat in at his place, Ronnie, and ended up having to go back to town to buy his mother a new chair. But anyway, that's yet another story. So Ronnie MacKinley, Prince Edward Island. About a week ago, Ronnie dropped into my place and we were having a chat and we were talking about, Ronnie was mentioning the theatrics of politics. The theatrics of politics. And I said, that's interesting, Ronnie, because as a career teacher, I thought of the engagement value of the theatrics in teaching. And the first person who made me aware of how valuable a trait that was to engage people and to get your point across was none other than Dr. F.W.P. Bolger. A number of you might know, the little doctor. Well, the little doctor would teach in Duffy Amphitheater, University of Prince Edward Island, and it holds 260 people. And he walked in there and he'd look up at 260 faces. It was always sold out. And it would take a minute, just absolute silence in the room, and he'd scan the room, and he would say, "Great to be popular, but hell to be the rage." And I thought, oh, that's appropriate for tonight. Great to be popular, but hell to be the rage. This man was more than popular for all of his political career, and continues to be so. Ron's coyness. One of my favorite statements was, Ronnie in the house, and I'm sure this is in Hanson. I didn't say that the honorable member was a liar. I said some of my constituents have mentioned that he stretches the truth. Perfect response, but anyway, pretty sharp on his feet, we know that. The fun side of running, I think one of the nights I've laughed the hardest was at a fundraising auction we had for the Dream Park at Elliott River School. And it was going to be an auction, and it was all, various things were donated, and there were about a dozen of us, it was down at the yacht club, about a dozen of us seated in a big table. Somebody came down, we all had numbers, the bidding numbers. Somebody came down and said, Ronnie, we didn't know you were coming, great to have you here. Would you be the auctioneer from 7:30 to 8? Not a problem, I'll be the auctioneer. 7:30 comes, up they go, Ronnie, we need you up front. Up front, Ronnie goes. Well, there's a prankster at Elliott River School, she's still there, her name is Susie Blakeney Dillon. Oh, I shouldn't mention her name. Susie Blakeney Dillon. She was sitting at our table. Well, Ronnie said, what's this we have next up? Oh, a case of pantyhose. 144 pairs was gross. Oh, that's a lot of pantyhose. So he starts auctioning the pantyhose. A case of pantyhose. And Susie's there, and Susie's, she's bidding on the case of pantyhose. That's Ronnie's card she's bidding with. At any rate, Ronnie he'd forgotten the number, his bidding number, and he went to pay at the end of the night. What's this? It's a case of pantyhose. I didn't buy any pantyhose. Well, yes, you didn't. And the next morning, my classroom, I could look out and see the front entryway. Oh, geez, I saw this big man storming up me with a box in his arms. He was looking for who set him up and ended up with, I think they're still friends, although Susie's a staunch Tory. I still think they're great friends. Anyway, that was the fun side of Ronnie. Ronnie's been called many things in his life, from the Maverick to the Messiah. And I think that the fact that this room is packed tonight will attest to the fact that I believe that one of the things that I think we all have respect and appreciation for is that we're able to call Ronnie MacKinley our good friend. And he is that indeed. The creation of this book has been a journey for sure. And through the 2 hurricanes and the pandemic, I'm very happy that we were able to bring this to fruition and to be able to get to the point we are with sharing the book with you tonight. So without further ado, it's been a distinct pleasure being involved in this process. And without further ado, I want to turn the mic over to none other than the author of the book, Sam MacPhail.
Bill was actually my 5th grade librarian, so we rekindled our relationship 15 years later, and here we are. Before I actually get started, there's one more person we really have to thank. I know we thanked Wayne at the start, but this person acted as our editor-in-chief, our fact-checker, and probably who kept Ronnie on his toes for 30 years as an elected official. So, Ann, you'd like to come forward and a little token of appreciation. So as Bill alluded to, there's a bit of an age gap between us. I like to say we have 100 years of experience combined. I am really indebted to Bill for all the coffees on Sunday mornings and wise words of advice, and for obviously agreeing with what might seem like a crazy idea. His retiree schedule really helped for getting the research in order too. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank his partner Heather, both of whom have become really close friends of mine. And don't worry, Heather, I'll still be there on Sunday morning. And obviously, a big thank you to all of you for purchasing the book. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And you know, Bill alluded to talking about the donations, it goes to a good place. So when you make a purchase, you know, it's not just going to something that doesn't matter. Times are tough, and it's good to be able to help out. So my job is to explain why we wrote the book. So Bill kind of gave you a little bit of why we did it, but I'll give you my version. There's really 3 reasons. In the 10th grade, I took a political history course with Stephen Galloway, and from then I was hooked. I loved how a bill became a law. For whatever reason, a 15-year-old likes that. And ever since, I've read many political memoirs and many biographies about politicians, just to kind of get a sense of what to look for in a good politician. So that leads to my second reason, is that we have the perfect case study right here in Cornwall, Meadowbank, in Ron MacKinley. Someone with a track record and a strong reputation. It's easy to write about someone like him. It also helps that he keeps every archive of every newspaper clipping he's ever been in his basement, so I could just go down anytime and go through everything. It was great. Or I'd tell Ann I need a certain picture, and 10 minutes later, the email to me, great, we're putting that in the book. And then the third reason, and this is what really clicked, was Ron retired in 2015, and shortly after, The Guardian and CBC started asking former politicians, like, what's life like now? Kind of a where are you now piece. So what was your favorite memory? What was going on? Yada, yada, yada. And I think it was CBC. They're asking about Ron, his memories, his favorite experiences, etc. And Ron's quote, and I'll quote this, is, "I could write a book. It would be a mile long. The pages it would be." So this isn't a mile long by all means, but we did our best to keep it within what's printable. So that's really why we wrote the book. And to touch on Ron's stature as a politician, he really is PEI's most durable provincial modern-day politician. I know we could argue back and forth about whether or not that's true, but in my opinion, it's true, and it won't happen again. Just in terms of, you know, the short memories of the electorate or social media or what have you. And Bill and I really wanted to create something that would last, and I think the product you all have in your hands tonight is an example of that. He really had as you'll see in the book, he had an unparalleled political astuteness. He still does. He's the same person today as he was before he entered politics. And to quote Alan Buchanan in his contribution, he may have played the part, but he was no one's fool. I think the diversity of stories and the backgrounds of the contributors in the book showcase who he was and his impression on people. Most memoirs you read are very clean-cut and polished, but I think from the stories, by adding other people's stories in it, you really get to see that there's more to the man than just in politics. There's really a full picture, whether it's from his family, from his brother, who put some shots in there. And I think it really painted a fuller picture, and it wasn't supposed to be this polished, clean-cut book. It was supposed to be something that was fun and enjoyable for everybody. And it really adds that level of authenticity, I think, when you're talking about Ron MacKinley. So throughout his life, Ronnie has been a student, a farmer, a businessman, a husband, a father, a politician, a maverick, a leader, a grandfather, a mentor, a comedian, and I'm glad to be the one who added his newest job to the resume, a book salesman. I think Ronnie takes great pride in selling his own book, and it's really appreciated. So there were 2 themes we tried to showcase throughout the book, and kind of what contributed to his longevity as a politician. The first one was to never take yourself too seriously, and the second was to love what you do. And what I mean by never take yourself too seriously is that Ronnie never did, and he was always able to make light in stressful situations. I think we see on the news or in social media that politicians often get pulled, 10 different ways, but he was really able to say, or never take himself too seriously regardless of the person, and really talk one-on-one with people instead of, assuming because of their title or their role that they're this big important person. He's able to talk one-on-one and really connect with people. And the second one, love what you do. The age-old saying goes that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and I think Ronnie will tell you that he loved what he did every day, and there was a fire in his belly every time he woke up and worked on behalf of the people of Cornwall. So over the past few years, I've spent countless hours with Ron and Ann, whether research or whether just to go say hi, and I can't begin to express my gratitude to you both. I have vivid memories of going through the archives, dust and all, moths flying through. But it was, for me as a political junkie, that was the best education I could ever get, and it really solidified the people they are, and why I knew this book was meant to happen, whether we sold 1 copy or 500. And I say this in joking, but an afternoon drive with Ron in his truck will teach you more about politics and people than any book or classroom ever could. And if he offers you the chance to do that, take it. And those who have been in that truck for those drives, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So before I welcome the man of the hour up to say a few words, so that could range from 5 minutes to 5 hours, I do have a little story that didn't make the book, and it's about, at the time was the Honorable Minister of Transportation and the Leader of the Opposition, Olive Crane. So it seems like distant history now, but about 10 or 15 years ago, Sunday shopping on PEI wasn't a thing. Between Victoria Day and Christmas, you're allowed to shop on Sundays, but the rest of the year, no Sunday shopping. And we happen to be the only province in Canada at that time that didn't allow it. Obviously, it seems like ancient times now, but at the time, the Leader of the Opposition, Olive Crane, brought forward a private member's bill to say, well, let's get in line with Canada, let's introduce Sunday shopping, and it creates this economic stimulus, this jobs, it's more money for businesses in the time when they need it most. And like those political junkies in the room will know, a private member's bill is usually shut down pretty quick by government. But this one, Robert Gibbs was the Premier at the time, decided let's have a free vote, let's see what happens. So it had been back and forth throughout the day, and the debate went on and on. And then they closed debate for the day and said, okay, we'll see you tomorrow, we'll have a good night. Well, later that night, the Leader of the Opposition, Olive Crane, went to CBC and had an interview about the Sunday shopping and why it's a good idea. Well, shortly after her interview, she happened to take a tumble and fell down the stairs and hurt her wrist and hurt her ankle. And the next day in the legislature, they kind of got into the legislature, and Ronnie, being the astute politician he is, picked up and said, what's going on there? There's a story there. So anyways, the debate ensued, and they got up, and I think I have the quote actually in here. The debate ensued, and it was now time for the Honourable Minister of Transportation to have his say on the Sunday shopping ordeal. And he said, as a good Protestant would, he said, I'm not what you call a saint, but I think we're getting farther and farther away from religion. It's not in schools anymore with prayers. Sunday shopping it'll take away the island way of life that, a relaxing Sunday, a religious Sunday with your family. And then he went on to say, well, I think you know what happened. What happened after you rushed to CBC to go tell your side of the story? What happened after that? She said, well, I had a little accident. I hurt my wrist and my ankle. And Ronnie says, well, okay, well, does that tell you something? And the Leader of the Opposition got up and said, well, I don't know, like what? And the Minister of Transportation said, that God works in mysterious ways. So I grew up, and it's funny at the time, but it is a meaningful statement, and I do want to think that God does work in mysterious ways, because we're all here tonight celebrating a man who dedicated 30 years of his life to the island political scene, and I ended up being the one who got to write a book about it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage the man of the hour, the Maverick, Ron MacKinley.
First of all, I want to thank everybody who came tonight. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. A lot of faces here could tell a lot of stories about. But I'm not going to tell too many stories tonight. First of all, I would like to thank Sam MacPhail and Bill for the great job they did in writing the book. I think they deserve a lot of credit. I mean, as you know, I probably started back in the book and started writing it. So, we got here. We got people that know what they're doing. And I always said that. You don't have to be that smart. It's just to get people around that know what they're doing. And that's what I had in this riding for years. Helped me get elected. Right from Rustico we started to Rocky Point, now Mount Creek area, Cornwall. I always been able to have great people around me. That's very impressive to keep you elected. And people wondered how I did it. I really didn't do that much. You get out, you answer phones, but you had this group of people that were with you. And another thing I see there's some former media here tonight, so that'll let me tell one of the stories. But it's good to have a contact with the media. They're only trying to do their job. they're not going to lay you out in the cold or anything like that. They have a job to do and they need a story. Well, if you help them with the story, then you're part of the story and you have more control over that story. and it doesn't hurt. And it doesn't hurt taking them out for breakfast without time either. and a more humorous time, let's get into the bucket of chicken. What happened to bucket of chicken? I left the Legislative Assembly at, I don't know, 9:30, 9:15, and I was driving out, and I was out with that Rotary or something there now, out in West Royalty there, and phone rang. Ronnie, we got somebody here who wants to see you. Can we meet somewhere? Well, you know, when they meet, you either meet at the bar at that hour, but they know that we couldn't meet at the bar because we were warned to never use our government credit card to purchase booze. And I could see that. And so I said, well, why don't I go to your place? And there was one MLA, I think, didn't get elected. I think there was one MLA there that didn't get back into cabinet. And there was one person there that ran for the leadership of the Conservative Party and got it. And it was, I decided, well, you know, if I take them out and we go to some restaurant over there, like Stratford there, Pinky's, I think it is, or whatever it's called. Yeah, Finley's. I could just see the bill adding up. So the cheapest thing to do, I seen this Kentucky Fried Chicken, get them a box of chicken and give it to them. And I was going through the drive-thru, and one of the women said, don't forget the macaroni. Well, I never eat macaroni. So that's how this bucket of chicken came. Now you're going to feed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. With a bucket of chicken, where can you get a cheaper deal? Well, that's the story in the bucket of chicken. And with that, I just want to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank my wife for putting up with me all these years. Sam and them are going on, they were talking these, I guess because I'm Scottish, but Sam and them were talking about getting somebody in there with the book and everything and what it was going to cost. And I said, my wife's going to community school. She writes books. She's got books out at Amazon. What's that her do with everything? That's exactly how she came to do everything. And what we have done is every time you say $1 is more money for the Bluefield Family Schools lunch program. And we all know how rough it is out there, and the price of oil and everything going up, how rough it's going to be come this winter. So with some help of Stan and Bill and some good advice, that's where we decided to put any profit that we do make go back into school families to help the families in this area and all Bluefield Family Schools. So anyway, Pat, I'm not going to get into did I say that? I still got that tape. I saved everything. What? I always say that you just go up to Legislative Assembly up there, and the clerk will get you the tape. I used to play that all the time in the truck. and it was just music. But look, it's nice to see you, Pat, Al Buchanan, and local politicians and that are here tonight, and Valerie Dargety's here tonight, and I can't quite see everybody, but I know there's other politicians here tonight. And we even got Charlestown represented here. You want to hear his speech, you should have heard him last Saturday. I'll tell you, he can talk. So with that, thank you for coming out. And, oh yeah, I better not forget, the new leader of the Liberal Party is here tonight too, Sharon Cameron, right up front, so. You know, these glasses of mine, I gotta get something to keep them, but I see Mark McLean back there and his wife is a pharmacist. I met her first when she was a pharmacist down here in Cornwall, and I believe maybe Roger McLaughlin, your uncle? Yes. So they tried a session here tonight, so thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it.
I hope everyone was entertained by a little bit of storytelling from Ron McKinley. That concludes the evening tonight, but we welcome you to stay around and socialize, say hi, get your book signed. There's tea and coffee and sweets down there. We welcome you to stay. Thanks everyone for coming.